in Shwetambar tradition, most of the places, or almost all Shwetambar places, monks read the Kalpasutra. And what is the status of the Kalpasutra? How and what has happened? And I'm going to give you some overview, brief overview about the Kalpasutra. In Shwetambar tradition, the Kalpasutra is Jain scripture that includes a detailed account of the life of Bhagwan Mahavir and some other Tirthankars. It is read to the congregation from the fourth to the last day of the Paryushan, means last 5 days of Paryushan. Kalpa means an activity which enhances Gnan, means his religious knowledge, Charitra or Shil, which is conduct, and Tap or self-control, Pinance or self-control. So, Kalpasutra is a scripture which describes how to enhance our knowledge, our conduct, and our Tap or Pinance. So, this is the overall summary of the Kalpasutra. It is a book. It, it explains you that how you can increase your knowledge, conduct, and finance. All right. Status of the Kalpasutra. Kalpasutra is the 9th chapter of a religious scripture called Dasasutskrant. Shwetambar tradition, Shwetambar Murti Pujak has 45 agams, is the 9th one, 9th chapter of the Dasasutkand. And Dasasutkand is one of the book of the Chet Sutra. Now, people may not know all these things. I don't want to go into what are Angagam, Upang, Chet Sutra, Mool Sutra, Prakrinak, all these different category of our books. That one I will take one presentation on Jain literature. Okay. And are classified as Ang Bahya Agam. Ang Agam is the oldest one. This Chet Sutra is classified as a young Bahya Agam, meaning it is relatively new, relatively speaking, I'm talking. The author of the book is Bhadrabhau Swami, last Acharya who had the knowledge of 14 Purvas. The 14 Purvas and this kind of the words, you have heard it. Even like when you recite Samaro Mantra Bhalo Kar, એ છે 14 પૂર્વનો સાર. Now, what are these Purva? Purva is the oldest literature, Jain scripture, and they were the 14 of them. And the summary of that includes into Kalpasutra. Its basis is the 9th Purva, which is a Pratyakhan Prabhat. Pratyakhan means Pachkan. I'm just going to give you a little bit wording on that one, because each sentence, if I have to explain you in depth, it will require significant time. And we want to finish it at least in hour and a half our presentation. But at least keep these things in the mind, and in future we will talk about Jain literature. First reading of the Kalpasutra. Kalpasutra was not read from Mahavira's time in Paryushan. It started late. And they said it started to comfort the king Dhrusen for the sudden demise of his son. Look at the acharyas. Okay, they see if the king is happy Jain Dharma can proliferate in his kingdom. And if the king is in a sorrowful state, then it will not. So they always try, if you look at the history of Jainism, that make sure it's an old time. India has been divided into many, many kingdoms. And Jaina Acharyas always want the king have a favor on Jain principles so that they can spread the knowledge and king can make the environment conducive to their spiritual progress. Now the king Dhruv, because his son suddenly died, was needed some comfort, and the Acharya read Kalpasutra in his courtyard. But historically there were three King Dhruv at that time, 519 to 549 AD or 627 to 642 or 650, whichever it is, a 5th or 6th century. Okay, we can Jainism cannot preserves the historical dates properly because it is a oral tradition. There is no documentation properly documented. Why it is like that? If you look into it, our Jain principles, possession is one of the violation of the vows. Non-possession, that is the vow for monks and nuns. And monks and nuns are the knowledgeable, learned people. But since they cannot possess any scriptures even, because it becomes a possession, that's a violation of their vow. And because of that, the Jainism as well as Buddhism, they are oral tradition. Now, oral tradition is always from guru to disciple. It is lot late Acharyas realize that if they don't document the Agam literature, we may lose the religion. And they remove from possession any Jain literature or scripture. But that was late. That happened after Bhagwan Mahavir's Nirvana, 1,000 years. Up to 1,000 years, which is a 40 generation, our tradition remained oral. And then the first time it got documented in Balbipur, in the conference where 600 monks get together and documented our Agam. Okay. So because of the oral tradition, we cannot really pinpoint exact time. We can say in general around this time. All right. Now, in the Kalpasutra, there are three main topics.